a lot of the times ads are put on for adults on children's channel because they're watching those shows with their kids. They're sitting there with them, so they have a lot of adult based advertising. So how do you put the limit on that?
Like, and if they are, that's psychotic.
That's not true. No, for safety.
I mean,
a lot of parents will shadow follow their kids' accounts to make sure that they're not following inappropriate content.
Yeah, like that's fine. Like shadow following is like fine. Like where you're talking about like they just follow them to like make sure they're not like following people, right? Like what I'm saying is like psychotic and is an invasion of privacy is like when they take their phone and like go through their social media to see like what exactly is like being posted and like then like unfollow shit like for them and like all that stuff. Like to me that's an invasion.
I don't think that's necessarily psychotic.
I think it's a little. I think it's an invasion of their privacy and like a takeaway of like an expression of their personality.
I don't think they should like just grab the phone and like delete it for them. Obviously, like I think that's where it becomes an invasion of privacy. But I feel like as a parent, you have the right to come, sit your child down, say, "Hey, this page, I want you to unfollow it because of X, Y, Z," and explain it to them. And then if they don't do it, I feel like you have to kind of force your way because you're the parent.
Yes,
so you still obviously like have to make sure it's safe for your kid to see.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the parent has that right too. I was just saying I don't think that they should be forcing something like onto their kid like overbearingly. You know what I mean? Just being like, you're not allowed.
That's kind of what we just said, but in a more civilized manner.
Yeah, the thing is, you're supposed to explain things to kids so that they understand like why. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, but then what do you do when your kid says no? You have to force it, don't you?
I mean, yeah, but it's also up to your that's up to your parenting to explain it to them well.
Well, it's not. You might have explained it very, very well, but sometimes a kid might might be stubborn. They're immature.
You gotta explain it in a way that they'll understand. It's your kid.
No, I'm saying that there's kids that will completely understand what you're saying, and they'll be like, "Yeah, you're right," but they'll do things because that's what they want to do, and that's where their mind is. It's even with adults. They know that they shouldn't be spending money on these shoes because they gotta pay rent, but they'll go buy those shoes. Knowing that damn well it has to do more so with maturity than actually, you know, like your explanation skills sometimes.
Yeah, I'll give you that because, you know, as adults we make bad decisions like that all the time. But I still think that ultimately there still has to be some kind of like, I don't know. I think they're I don't know. To me, I don't think parents should just be like super like over invasive. They should have some kind of like being able to monitor their kids like up to like, you know, obviously when they're 18 basically, or like, you know, whatever age is an adult in your country. But at the same time, it's like that kind of can build a distrust between your like you and like your kid if you don't let them like follow things that they feel like expresses their personality. And I feel like you should make sure to give your kid an opportunity to allow to explain why they follow that page or like what the content is and why it's funny to them or something, you know? Because it's like I follow some raunchy Instagram pages, you know, and it's like I ain't no like freak or nothing, but it's just hilarious like what some of these people would like post, you know?
Yeah,
like come on, man,
some really funny shit.
Yeah, exactly. There's just some funny shit out there, dude. Like, and you just gotta follow it for the vine, you know? Like, fuck it.
Just to see it, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, some people are like, yeah.
Yeah. So, ultimately though, dude, like, I don't know. Like, I guess I don't know where the line gets drawn. Like where the line gets drawn between what's good advertising and bad advertising for kids. But, like, I think we have to, like, figure it out, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely do. And then, we also got to figure out the lines between, what this applies to. Does it just apply to advertising in the social media space, or does it apply to advertising in the, like television and Netflix and like streaming services scenes? Because at the end of the day, they're providing ads that kids are gonna see.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, ultimately, I think if some kind of laws were to be passed, like to restrict advertising or to restrict like the way the algorithms work across social media, or I guess the way algorithms work overall, it would probably have to be across like the internet as a whole. But then you would have to basically register yourself like with an online ID on the internet, you know? Like with like a real ID to like show your age or something. Because it's like, I feel like advertising goes everywhere, not just social media, you know?
Yeah, but can you just... Because, I mean, I feel like there might have to be, like, some form of regulation like that where, like... No, yeah, like, when you're, like, not 18 on, like, certain social media, like, you can't see certain things. Like, they have... I think they kind of have that built in there.
Yeah,
I remember...
you're right. Yeah, porn.
Yeah, and, like, you would have... But people would get around it by, like...
They just click yes.
No, but, like, just faking their age.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, to actually enforce something, you'd basically need, like, a valid ID.
Okay, yeah, and then if you made people have a valid ID, isn't that become another form of invasion of privacy?
That's exactly what I was saying. Like, that's, like, basically an invasion of privacy, then, is you're forcing an ID registration, like, across the entire internet, which is supposed to be, like, a open thing for everybody, you know? So, I don't know. I think maybe it ultimately comes down to we should probably be educating ourselves more about how algorithms work and how advertising works. Because because the thing is I don't think any laws, God, I hate to say this, but realistically, no laws would probably get put into place to change these algorithms or the way social media companies work, because they can just lobby them to be, like, taken out, you know?
No, yeah, but I mean, at the end of
I think that they can just lobby them to be taken out, and the thing is,
we're talking more about the ethical part of like why it should be done and what it should be done versus like the actual. Because we all know like laws and regulations are put for whatever makes companies money. At the end of the day,
but that's a problem, bro.
Yeah, but like, there's only so much we can do as an individual, you know, and I feel like we should at least look at it from a standpoint of what's ethically right and what we think should be done, so we can at least try to accomplish something without it going through a legislative reform. So, like, for example, we could create a service that does this for social media. You can hire somebody to be like, hey, these content creators are flagged for putting oppressive content, and now that's just another form of business for people to engage in. Or they can find different ways to like educate others also on like, hey, you should, like, kids shouldn't be on this type of like content. Like, we could create social media pages for that.
Yeah, I think ultimately what we really should be doing is we should just, because ultimately, like we said, no laws are probably going to get passed. Like, I want to remain hopeful that laws will get passed, and I will advertise and campaign myself for these laws to get passed, because they should be, in my opinion. But because they're probably not going to, I think we should do our best to educate ourselves about how algorithms work and how advertising works, and to try to remain, I guess, aware, you know what I mean, that we are being advertised and trying to be influenced by social media, you know?
And how do you feel we should educate ourselves though too? Because there's, like you said, like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So how do we know that advertisers might not be influencing that too?
Yeah, that's true. I guess there's no real way to like know, like, if you really like break it down, like you can't actually like prove like anything unless if you're there, you know, and then really it's only your truth. But I guess the way you would prove it is just basically just through like trial and error. Like this thing I said with like the Instagram like algorithm and how it works right now. It's like you can try it. Like just try like bookmarking like a bunch of like pages that like you would like never really follow. Like bookmark like their posts and like just watch them like show up more on your explore feed and like on your like regular feed too. Like, and then like try it with like likes and like comments and stuff, and just like see how much like they come up and stuff. Like personally, like, just from experience, I noticed, like, when I started sending people stuff, like, I followed NASA only recently, because I just never even thought about it, right? And I love space stuff, but I just never thought to fucking follow NASA, because I never see them pushed on my algorithm. But someone sent it to me, and so I liked it, and then I sent it to someone else. And then as soon as I did that, I started seeing all of their stuff. Like, as soon as I sent it the one time, I started seeing all of their stuff, like, pop up, like, on my feed, like, way more often. And then in my Explore page, too, when I sent it once more to another person, suddenly half of my Explore page was, like, space stuff. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that's probably how algorithms work. At the end of the day, I mean, that's something we can, like, play on.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel it's so hard to, like, prove that works, because if we're gonna enact it into to law, don't we have to make it public information? Like, basically, at the end of the day, like, don't companies have to disclose their algorithm, and then doesn't that come into, like, competitive like, competition rights and shit like that? Like,
I mean, yeah, it does, but it's like, the thing is, it's like, you can, like I said, you can look up this data, like, you can look up these things, like, anyways, like, because people will do their due diligence and do their research, you know? It's like, it's the same, I'm gonna bring up the health industry again, like, when calories and stuff became a big standard, and macronutrients and stuff, it became law that they had to disclose that on the menus. They had to disclose how many calories were in all of their foods. And not only that, they also had to display what main ingredients were in there. And doesn't that do the same thing as basically just create competition for competitors?
it's
Yes and no. It's like you're
no.
you're just displaying the bread and butter. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, this is how the main shit functions. You know what I mean? But you don't know all the inner workings behind it. And, like, everything else. You don't know the kind of, like, ingredients that go into their sauce and, like, how long they cook their chicken and stuff. You don't know the type of encoding that goes into, like, the, like, algorithm or whatever. You know, I'm not a, like, coder, so I don't really know the terminology, but you know what I mean?
To understand what we need to do to limit their exposure to like children and stuff, we need to know the inner workings. We need to know exactly what they're tracking for and how they push the content out there. And by doing so, you wouldn't be able to give them just the bread and butter. You'd have to give them the secret sauce.
I mean, the thing is they don't necessarily have to disclose that information to the public. They could just kind of disclose that information to the government, and the government could have, like, an
ethics...
Is this
recording?
Yes.
Oh, shit, my bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And the government can have a like, ethics committee to, like, basically determine whether or not the algorithm is, like, running the way it should be, you know? If it's, like, not negatively impacting society. Like, it doesn't have to be disclosed to the public, because that way it wouldn't create business competition from people just being like, oh, this is how Facebook algorithm works. I'll just create my own Facebook. You know, like, fuck, like, no. Like, no. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, no, like, that's Facebook's private shit. But the thing is, like, if they're going to be regulated, just like how, like, the health industry, they have a person from the government, a health inspector, go inspect restaurants, why shouldn't they have someone go inspect the Facebook algorithm?
Okay, that's fair, but then let's think about it like this, though. To get that law and regulation or committee, like, approved and passed, like, people are gonna have to want to vote on this and on this opinion. So how are you gonna not necessarily expose a social media company's algorithm with while trying to explain to people, this is what we're gonna do to limit like, social media algorithms, and this is a law you're gonna vote on?
You know, John, that's a tough question I don't have the answer to. Like,
okay,
if I'm gonna be honest, I don't know, like, how you would do that, because I feel like it would low-key, like, I feel like the masses wouldn't like being told that information. Like, if, like, it turned out that, like, the government confirmed that, like, social media has been manipulating people and, like, their lives, people would be really angry. You know what I mean? And
I feel like people wouldn't go away from it, though. People would be angry.
I feel like they
on there.
Yeah, I feel the same way too.
That's the biggest. That's like another reason why I feel like people won't get regulating social media might not be like a good thing too, you know, because like people are gonna still come back to it. They know it's bad for them.
They won't really care. That's the thing, is like on social media, like things live and die in like a week.
Yeah,
like straight up a whole thing can be born and die within like a week, dude. Like a whole meme, a whole beautiful, glorious Patrick Star meme can like be born and like risen from the ashes and like be killed like that same week.
Yeah, and you just forget about it until the next time it pops up on your timeline.
Yeah, because
a year from now.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know, YouTube and Instagram and all these have such a thing of instant gratification that it's just move on to the next thing that's gonna get you gratification. You know, it's just keep the wheel going. So I think ultimately, because it's more than likely not gonna happen, we're gonna ever get these laws passed. It's just gonna come down to us trying to do our research, do testing, and like find like decent people who like know the industry, who know how like algorithms are supposed to work and can do data and like research, you know, and just experiment with our social medias and try to follow and look for more positive things like on social media than like negative things. Like, and I think there's a big responsibility with recognizing what impacts your mood on social media too, you know, because like I don't know, I notice I'm in a better mood when, like, I see just, you know, puppies and funny memes on Instagram than when I see, like, you know, some really buff dude with, like, a super, like, jacked six-pack and, like, some, like, super, like, hot girl with, like, a fat ass and stuff who's, like, on some Lamborghini. Who's on some Lamborghini she rented.
Some dude that looks like he's living the life, essentially.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's, like, I feel way different looking at those two things, you know? And there's... I guess it's more of a social responsibility for us to make sure that we're following the right things.
Nah, yeah, I guess that's what it comes to at the end of the day. Just being responsible, making sure, you know, making sure you taking care of the priorities in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, you got to recognize like your own emotions and don't like be afraid to like think about them. You know, like if something makes you upset, like try to like think about why it made you upset. You know, like seeing some like Instagram post or some like YouTube video or, you know, some OnlyFans page, like whatever it is, you know, you got to recognize why and, you know, try to remove it like from your feed, in my opinion. Like I try doing Instagram cleanse like every like few months to like make sure I'm not following anything that's like pissing me off, you know?
No, that's actually a pretty good idea. I think I might actually like end up doing that myself because I usually don't do that, but I also am not on social media like that too often,
yeah,
so.
You're only on there when I'm sending you memes.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't even have notifications up. That's like one of the biggest things.
Yeah, oh my god,
me, honestly,
dude. Yes,
just turn off notifications.
Dude, that's the thing, is I have notifications turned off, and Snapchat is still sending me these notifications of people posting on their stories. Like the thing is I'm not getting notifications when people send me stuff. I'm just getting the notifications of people posting now. Which is worse. I mean, nobody sends me anything on Snapchat anyways, but, you know, when they do, when they don't, you know, I don't get the notification, so.